Yeah, Mickey's travels, so has Vladimir. They're both doing well, so hopefully they're both in with a chance of playing.
And do you have any other fresh knocks from Sunday?
No, everything else seems okay at the moment, so hopefully we're in the clear.
I mean, it goes without saying, but for motivation for this game, it's quite simple, really. Not lose and you're in the European final.
Well, I don't know if that's the motivation. The motivation is that we've got a really tough game. We've got to deal with it, so we've got to do that first. We've got to go through the process before we get any further.
And obviously, as you said, after the first leg, you might have won it, but you felt it was still, it's as good as a level game, really.
Oh, of course it is. There's very little in it, and if it was the other way around, if we were a goal down, we'd be saying, we've still got to go for it. It's a great chance. So I don't see it being a big advantage. It's an open game, and we're going to have to take it on.
Of course, you'll be very aware of their European record. I think it's 25 games they haven't lost at home in Europe. What are the sort of challenges and what you've assessed from their home performances that you've got to watch out for tomorrow?
Very good, but I've been here and won before, so I remember it well, and I have to try and do that again tomorrow night. That's the job.
I don't know if you noticed, but you're the only English team when you're at Everton who's ever won here in a European game. So.
Well, I remember because I've got so much respect for Louis van Gaal, and he was a coach at that time, and I was still a very young coach, learning my way. So I remember coming over here, and I've always enjoyed coming to the Netherlands. I've always enjoyed coming here to playing youth tournaments. I've enjoyed to be around, watch the football. So, but I remember that night quite well.
Hi, David. You've spoken quite a lot before about the difficulties of planning for next season when you weren't sure which division you were going to be in. It looks pretty clear-cut now. What impact would being in Europe again have on your planning for next season?
That would be huge if we can make Europe again. It would be 3 years in a row for West Ham in a league which is incredibly competitive, very difficult to get near the top of it, and to do it 3 years in a row would be great. Now it would be through getting to a final. But first of all, we've got a semi-final. We have to navigate, and we have to do a good job. We're playing against a really good side, good team, good footballing team, and we have to try and do the job which is required.
Because I suppose for a team like Chelsea, perhaps, or one or two others, if you miss a season in Europe, you kind of back yourselves to get back in again. But for West Ham, that what you're trying to create in terms of building the profile of the club and attracting players and that kind of thing, it must be huge to just keep this run going.
Yeah. Well, I've said many times, when you're trying to build and grow a football club, it doesn't always go in the one direction. You have to, sometimes there's setbacks, sometimes it doesn't always go the way you want it to go. But I think being in Europe, I think mainly for our supporters, for the club, for everybody involved, it's been an incredible journey we've had. This season and last season, to be in a semi-final of the Europa League last year in lose to Eintracht Frankfurt was a great run for us. This year we've got ourselves in another semi-final. So it takes some doing, and I've got to say the players have done a brilliant job over the last couple of years in doing that.
Hi David. Thomas has just been in saying that the loss last year in the semi-final stayed with him for weeks and months. I just wondered how you dealt with it and what was the biggest takeaway that you had from it, perhaps looking forward to tomorrow's game.
Well, I think we took a lot away from it because we had to beat Seville, we had to beat Lyon to get to Eintracht Frankfurt, and we felt that we'd got ourselves in a really good position. Also our form was good and we felt good about winning the game. But in the end, maybe a little bit lack of experience of being at that level of the competition might have just took its toll on us a little bit. So hopefully we'll learn from it. Hopefully we can get a bit better. And we're all really hoping that we can make one other step and get to a final.
If you've now got another year's experience plus an experience of that defeat, how will that manifest itself, do you think? How do you think the players will be better equipped to deal with the challenges tomorrow?
Well, I think the players are more experienced generally. You have to remember West Ham hadn't been in Europe for I don't know how many years before last year, so that last year was our first year, and we navigated most of it in a good way. And I have to say we've done very much the same this year. We've navigated very well to get to this point in the competition. We are now up against a difficult opponent who's played against some really good teams and knocked some very good teams out of the competition as well. So there's no guarantee in football. You have to earn it, and we'll need to earn it tomorrow.
David, hi.
Hi there.
Hi. It's been a gruelling season, another long season, ups and downs. You seem really up for it today. Does that stay the same? The more experience you've got, you still get excited and enthusiastic and up for these games, or is it different the more experienced you get?
Well, I think the more experience you get, you know that you're getting closer to maybe that you can't do it forever. That's for sure. So you have to take every opportunity you've got to win every competition. It's great. I'm really enjoying this, what we're doing at the moment, and the players, as I said, really we started in this competition way back in right at the start of August, and we're still in it. And we're in the middle of May now, so great credit to the lads and how they've gone about it, and to the whole squad, because we've mainly used all the squad in this competition through the group stages and even in the latter stages as well.
And you mentioned Jose last week as an example of how serious and important this competition is. He's got a tattoo of the conference trophy on his arm. Would you do the same if you win it?
Yeah, I don't think I'll have a tattoo, but at the moment, I'll look forward to trying to reach the final. That's the only thing I can consider at the moment, trying to get to the final. No further than that. Thoughts are no further. But as I said, we're focused in the game. We see how important it is for our club and for everybody connected to it, and we want to try and put on a good show and play well.
Hi, David. In terms of the man management of your group of players, not the tactics side and the physical side and getting ready for the game, but the sort of the mental side of it, we've talked a little bit about last year. How do you ensure that they embrace the occasion and they're at their best and they don't get overwhelmed by the occasion and what it means to the club and to them and to you?
Well, I hope the experience they've gained from last year in the competition will give them a little bit of that. And I generally feel that we have a group of players we have some really talented players, with some experienced players. We have a couple of younger boys as well. So hopefully that they can all work together and get the result. It's a big game for us, and look, we're fully aware of that.
You know Alkmaar well. Obviously, we've already had the first leg, and they'll know you well. Do you think there are potential surprises in store tomorrow night, David? Can you surprise them? Will they surprise you? Have you got a good idea, do you think, of what's coming?
I think Alkmaar have played very well, so I think we've seen, not just in the game against us, but I think that I've seen them in other games they're doing remarkably well in the Dutch league and have done for a few years. So I think that it'll be a pretty open game. I think Alkmaar have showed when they've been behind before what they're capable of. We've got a record away from Europe where I don't think we're beaten at the moment away from home. So all those things added together, for me, makes it look like an interesting game.
Welcome in the Netherlands.
Hi.
You already mentioned the match that you played here with Everton in 2007. Did you remember the stadium?
Yeah, it took me a wee while when I came in, because a long time ago now, and I had to think about it for a little while, but the minute I get through the door and I recognised everything from the past then, so it was good. But my biggest memory was obviously Louis van Gaal was a manager, and I was a young manager at the time, just really starting my journey. Not starting it, but still feeling like a very young coach.
And did it bring back memories of the match, because you won it in the last part of the game, winner by James Vaughan?
It didn't bring back key moments in the game. I just remember the victory. It was my dad who reminded me about the victory. My dad was out here as well, and will be again tomorrow night.
Okay. The last round of AZ, they lost in Brussels 2-0 to Anderlecht. They had a very good start, first 15 minutes of the game. What can you learn from that phase of the match? How to avoid being in a phase like that?
Well, maybe AZ don't start as well again in this game. We don't know, but we have to be ready for whatever comes our way. We understand it. We play in a league, in the Premier League, where every game is so difficult. Home and away is so difficult. Some of the teams are fantastic football teams. There's different styles, different levels of physicality. So hopefully we'll try and be ready for the game tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks.
Just in the back.
Mr. Moyes, last year in Holland we enjoyed the Conference League because Feyenoord was in the final.
Yeah.
What's the status of the Conference League in England? Because normally English teams compete in the Champions League. How do you look at the status of the Conference League?
Well, I think all English teams want to qualify for Europe, and to qualify for Europe is so difficult. The level of the teams, the quality of the teams. To be it's mainly 6 teams would qualify. Sometimes it might be more. So I think if you gave us the Conference League, and last year we missed out by being in the Europa League by 20 minutes. We were winning, and then we changed in the last game of the season, and we would have finished 6th. So for our club to have finished twice very close to the Europa League, but eventually get into the Conference League, we were thrilled to have European football again. It's so important for our football club, and the players have done incredibly well over the 2 years, better than I thought. I thought it would be difficult for us to adapt. If anything, the harder part is having to play on a Thursday, then playing a Sunday in the Premier League it takes its toll, because there is no games. You can't come back from a Thursday game and then find yourself having quite a comfortable 5-1 win the day after.
Yeah. Last week we saw the strength of your physics, especially in the second half when, of course, the Premier League is a big league where you need to be strong. Did you see that last week, and was it a typical Dutch-English game? Do you think like that?
Yeah, in many ways. Yeah, in many ways. No, we had over many years, I think we've all learned from Dutch football. Some great players and great national teams over many years, and I mean, we in the UK have always tried to pick up and get better. We've got lots of different coaches from different nationalities as well now, so it's making the British League much more interesting and much more changeable, and lots of good football.
Thank you. If we could just pass the mic down to the front. We'll just do the last couple now, Jordan, and then Mike.
Hi, David. You've often spoken about your desire to change West Ham ever since you arrived, make it the new West Ham. Just what would getting to a final and potentially winning a European competition do for your vision, and how far ahead of schedule, on schedule is that?
Well, for us to have qualified for Europe in the first year was incredible. After we had just avoided relegation and we finished 6th in the Premier League. Last season we got to a semi-final of the Europa League while still trying to maintain our position in the Premier League, which was really the biggest achievement, to stay 6th or 7th right up to the last game of the season, but also being a semi-finalist competition because of how long you have to go in the competition, how many Thursday, Sunday games you have. So for us to reach a final, or for us in any way to get a step further than that, would be a great achievement, and it would be a step forward, and it would be something which I think would be good, and it would be us trying to strive to move forward, even though there's been a couple of steps backwards. But I still see this would be getting to a final would be certainly be another big step forward.
And does this club need that step forward? Do you feel that pressure of what it could potentially do for West Ham?
No, not at all. Every club needs a final. Every club needs a European football if they can get it. We're really fortunate, so we're not under any pressure because of it. It's a thrill that we're in this situation. Really is.
And do you think West Ham now has a newfound respect for what they've done in Europe?
I don't know, maybe that's a question for the Dutch boys, maybe ask them, how, but I would say West Ham are now probably more viewed in Europe than they have done in the last 2 years. We've not been in it for a long time. We've got some really good young players as well. We've got some exciting talent in our team. And I think that over the last couple of years we've been a good watch, and I'm hoping that we can continue to be that right through to the final.
Going to move on to the last two, one from Mike and then one from Gregor at the front.
David, in isolation, do you think tomorrow night is West Ham's biggest game since the 2006 FA Cup final?
Probably a question for the West Ham boys who've been here longer than me. It's certainly for me, with this group of players, it's a huge game. We want to reach a cup final. It'd be great for the football club if we can do so. But again, we have a really difficult opponent. We have to play really well to get to a final. We're going to have to earn it. And we know that we're not getting. There's no gimmies in football. And any teams who are in the semi-final of competition at this level have to be good sides. So we've got big respect for any team who's got to this level.
And I observed to Pascal Janssen earlier that this stadium is surrounded by a moat and it has the feel of a fortress. Do you accept you'll have to withstand quite a lot of pressure and the feel of a siege at times tomorrow night to get where you want to go?
No doubt we will, yeah. No, AZ have to do what they have to do in the game, and we'll have to do what we have. It's as big a game for them as it is for us. It's no different, and we'll have to earn everything we can tomorrow.
Last one then, please.
Hi, David.
Hi there.
Sort of you mentioned about the 25-game unbeaten run here, and when you came here with Everton in 2007, it was 30 years before that since they were unbeaten in that time. You know, there's a lot of big clubs, Inter Milan, Ipswich, even you're going back to the 80s, Liverpool. Does that have any bearing at all? I know it's historical. There's clearly something here, though. Does that have any bearing on the here and now?
It's an incredible record in Europe they have here. It really is. So we've only started our European campaign really the last couple of years. You know, maybe you could go back, but if you looked at our record in the last couple of years, you'd have to say, my goodness, West Ham have got a really good record in the last 2 years. But Alkmaar, I've got a super record, no doubt about that.